Okay, so this program did not go quite as expected. I tried to get the stuff to work, I tried to get anything to work really, and I just kept hitting a bunch of issues, and now it's a little too late to really be able to do anything correctly here, but I figured instead of, doing nothing, the next best thing might as well just be going over what we have and explaining it to show that I know at least some of what we're doing, as opposed to not doing anything at all. So we're going to start over in controller, just going in order through all the classes. Code does not work. Obviously, I tried to get the library situation sorted out following some directions, but that has not worked. So, starting at controller, we have the @fxmls, which should have brought in some of these Java FX applications, which it's just having a hard time with right now, but that, as you can see, would have brought in the grid, the puzzle view, the puzzle display. And so basically what we're seeing here is just the initializing of what it would have brought up. It was working before with my JDK 11 a little bit, but not anymore. There was something off about the 11 as well. But anyways, so here we've got, length, width of what would have come, just the title of what would have loaded. The array list, get puzzle array, that's calling on something else that'll come in a little bit later. Writable image, I'm not entirely certain, but it's involving, the puzzle view, getting the width, getting the height, so I imagine that's playing into what was written up above. A lot of the controller is just setting up that screen I believe that we would have interacted with had this functioned correctly. So it's setting an offset for the columns, setting an offset for the rows, adding new rows, if need be. Let's see, moving down a little bit further. Just setting fonts, graphics context. Moving down further again. I think you ended up doing a lot of this code in general, so it's a little confusing looking at it. Because I think the main part you wanted us to focus on were within puzzle and spot, anyways. Yeah. Here's something that I can explain. So in this section of it, it's going off of what was read in through, like what would have been brought in from the board. After scanning the section of the code that the web reader brought up, this would read the amount of pixels set into each, I don't know what you call it, like a grid space, one of those, each of the little spots. And that's labeled as T count. So if the T count was 0, the space would be a free space, and we would implement, like, I don't know, just as an example moving down here. Like if the T count was 33, the piece would have been 1, and it would have put a 1 into the puzzle to be read in, as opposed to reading in the numbers another way. We just went through the method of counting the amount of pixels, and filling it out like that. So here it just goes all the way up to 9. Some numbers had more than one amount of pixels that could have been for it, which confused me a little bit. I don't know what sort of minor inconsistencies there would. Yeah, I guess there's the minor one. Just little things, but essentially it just runs 1 to 9 and transfers it that way. There's a bunch of math. And this is where you want us to, yeah. Moving on to main more, that didn't work. But the important thing is that this is an extension of application, which means it's going to take things from application and, as it's sort of stating, extending off of it. More of the fxml stuff. This is what you set the title. I think the previous one I'd messed that up. I think this helps to call the code, or not call the code, call the view from somewhere else. This is what's going to go on the thing, gathering a resource. And this is just sort of override of what we had seen previously. And that's pretty much it for that one. No solution. Not a whole bunch to say there. Problem. Here we go. So this is what's sort of setting the stage for what we have to do here. Again, pretty short, not a whole lot of the action happens here, but it does set up a lot of variables that are going to be used later on. Yeah, just, returning, just basically getting things ready for other pieces of this. You've got some initializing of the really important things, free spot, feasible, and trivial are all gonna, and puzzle, sorry, are all gonna be pretty important to this whole thing functioning. We have another override, which I believe is just used for yeah, lost my train of thought. So we're initializing the row and the column, and we're starting up a new array list. And this array list is going to be made of sort of everything that we've copied over from the tcount stage, if I'm reading this correctly. So whatever was read in through those tcounts is going to get transferred into numbers within this array, and then through this, it's going to take a look at that puzzle. It's going to determine which spots are feasible, which spots are, or it's going to determine which spots are feasible. If it is feasible, it's going to list it as a free spot, somewhere where we can implement, the correct section of code with the backtracking. And if it is empty, it's going to make it not feasible, something that we cannot tamper with. And it's going to return whatever it gathers from that. Sorry, my cat just sneezed on me. Here we've got the possible values that will go into something. Lacey, you need to move. Possible values that will go into something if it is feasible. At least, before the sort of rules of Sudoku are applied to it. Sorry, my cat's. I probably should have put her out of the room before this. So yeah, getting the possible values. These are the possible values for that. It's going to gather which ones can go in there. It's going to sort of filter through and see which ones are still available within that current space at that time. Because as we know, rules of Sudoku, you cannot repeat any number values within the same rows or columns, so it's checking for that. And this is once again within free spots, which I believe is just, once it's sort of filled in, it will change that. This, I don't believe we had to do anything much at all. When transferring things over, I found that this was really the only thing that we had to adjust, at least with my JDK11, and that's what. That was just because I had a different name for things, but this is just setting, the basic structure up for that grid, not the grid, the web view page. So this has got, your buttons, it's got the windows, it's got the parameters for everything that's going on in there. The solution section over here, we've got a section which plays into just, solving the puzzle, checking whether or not it is solved. And then spot, the other very important one, initializes quite a bit at the beginning. Once again, we're initializing rows and columns and blocks this time too, which is pretty important. The blocks play definitely a role. It's got the possibles, which is important from that we established in puzzle, and it's got the value of free, which is just free spots. So here we have, for making a fixed spot, some code there, making a free spot as well. And this, this just puts in the value of what is there. This has all the possible values of what can go in there. Here we have a section of code which is checking over everything that is within there and returning it. This is the section which involves some of the shallow and deep copies that are sort of going into this whole situation. But essentially that's what it's doing. It's checking over everything and returning what it is collecting. This is just the spot test. Not really a part of the code that's necessary for what we're doing, but definitely necessary for the testing portion. As you taught us, testing is super important for making sure that all the little individual pieces of this code are working. But yeah, I am very sorry I could not get the FX to work. It's been a few days that I've been trying, honestly, and nothing is working. I don't know if it's, I don't know. But this is what I have. I figured I would just go over it to, just get something done. That's it. Thank you.